Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. So I wanted to go ahead and put some things in perspective with the Division 2's community. The PTS, I have tested basically some of the things I want to see. If you guys have any other questions, just put it in the comment section. I'll pop up the PTS. Somebody asked me to test Striker, so hopefully I can get around to that. Fingers crossed, time is kind of limited, but I'll try my best, okay? Today's video, I wanted to talk about something that I've been talking about basically for a long time. Before we got Warlords of New York, the topic of replayable content was coming up in the community a lot. Now, there were some leaks and some ideas towards some leak about some thing and some thingy. I just decided not to touch it because, I don't want to spoil anything for anyone in the Division's community. And even myself, I didn't even read too much about the leaks. I just kind of was like, if I don't see content, I don't see content. And the PTS was also going on and the raid is on the horizon. So what are we worrying about, content past the raid when we haven't even seen nor even played the raid? So that was kind of my take until I saw an article. And this article showed up on PC Games, and the title of the article actually said the Division 2 devs confirm plans for more replayable PVE after underground-like mode leaks. Now, if you go on Reddit, where Chris Gansler himself basically replied to this post, he did say, he was addressing something about the PTS here, and then second paragraph was, we also wanted to confirm that we are indeed working on more content outside of upcoming seasons, and that one of the current ideas is to add a PvE mode that is meant to scratch the replayability itch. This is still in the early stages of development and is not set for release soon. In addition, while we'll understand the comparisons that are being made to Underground, we want to clarify that we don't intend to simply copy game modes from the first game, and that this new mode will not be Underground 2.0 and will have a new and unique take on the topic. To be honest, whatever it is, replayable content is something we've talked about. If you guys go back and look at the Division 1, the last set of content drops was actually Resistance. This was a replayable mode that you had hordes of enemy NPCs in different waves and different things, different effects, status effects, and all that will come up on you. This was a very nice thing to have in the game because players could actually go ahead and enjoy this content and play it over and over again. And there were builds you could take. There were strategies you could use to open up these boxes at specific waves when you were able to load them in with all these points that would then grant you the possibility for an exotic or for specific gear. And one of the really cool things about this mode was it provided a way for players to be able to farm some really intense content, but they understood that those boxes within those modes, were very lucrative, if you get what I mean. So that's basically, I think, in my opinion, the idea of this, replayable content in PvE, those kinds of modes. Now, another thing many people may be saying is, many people might talk about the PvP side of things. Now, he said that we are indeed working, this is supposed to be a PvE mode. They didn't say anything about a PvP mode. They didn't say anything about PvE PV mode or what PvP or VE mode or whatever it is. But that doesn't mean that nothing is coming in the, in the future. This was data mined. And so it was something that they came out and just confirmed. What I think is happening is this. I think the community and the development team are starting to warm up to one another. Initially, when the Division 1 came out, the community and the developers basically warmed up to each other very quickly. There was a lot of, it was weird. It seemed like after everybody came out, the game had a lot of issues, but it seemed like the community really stuck around for the first game and were willing to work with the developers to get the first game off the ground. But now when the Division 2 came out, it just really seemed very weird. A lot of things basically did not start off, too well. Or down the line, things started to go awry. But now I think the developers are starting to look and say, this time around, the community that we have is a community that's going to support this game. And this is the community that we have to be talking to. I understand. If you watch my last video, I basically told people who wanted to leave the game to take that leap of faith and do that, and then maybe take some time to come back, because I understand that the burnout and everything and the fatigue has been rubbing a lot of us wrong in the community. But what we actually need to be doing is we actually need to be in communication with the developers. And I understand that some people say, but we've been communicating with them for over 3 years and all that stuff. But they delivered a whole different game and tried to make a fresh take on another game so it didn't look like it was a recycled first game. Can we appreciate that or can we not appreciate that? That's everybody else that's everybody else's concern. Regarding how you view both of them. At first, when the Division 2 came out, I felt like the changes were too much, but over time I've come to adopt how some things are just unique and different, because I do go back to play the Division 1's PVE from time to time, and I can tell you that there are some improvements that I like in the Division 2 that I'm happy are in the game. So these things really do make for solid discussion points and a way that the community can say we're looking forward to a lot of what's going on. And it also, in my opinion, really does put a dent to the narrative that I've seen detractors put out there. Now, let me tell you one of the really fun things about this game. The reason why I do constantly say, I will always defend the good parts of the Division, and when I see things that are just wrong or off, I will be happy to call them out, is because I feel like there are a lot of detractors online in many cases that are heavily overbearing on the negative side of, whatever video game it is. And it seems like they have a righteous indignation, or they feel like they have a righteous cause to make things better. But the approach that they use sometimes, is a little off the cuff. And I think that's more of a personality thing. I can be like that. I can be really, really cynical. I mean, many of you, you probably don't know my true personality, but some of you that do, some of my good friends have even warned me about me not even having a lot of empathy. In a sense, I'm kind of I love logic. So sometimes I forget the empathetical side of things. So I could be straight up burnout crazy in some cases, but I have some subs, even some people here that tell me, yo, you gotta watch out and at least be somewhat sensitive to some of the situations in the community. And whenever I take a look at those things and step back after making maybe a video and I do a rant and it's like, comes off really wrong, it helps me try to see things from a different perspective. And I have to look at things as much as I can from all sides and try to provide a balanced opinion so I don't go off going crazy. And so the detractors mainly will say things like the developers have forgotten or abandoned the game. But what we're seeing is this is actually not the case. There have been, many times where it felt like the game was abandoned, but we all have to understand that Ubisoft has a very strict corporate policy that they try to follow. And I think we will always be, in the best possible sense of things, better served if we followed, or just kind of say, it's their thing. When they're ready to bring their content, they'll bring their content. And, times where they'll delay content, we can maybe criticize that, like, hey, you promised that this content was going to be landing on a specific date. Why has it not landed? And they got critique for some content that they did push back. But at the same time, we have to understand that, when they say these kinds of content or these things are going to be showing up later down the road, that's when it's going to be showing up. If they say, a patch is going to be coming next week, that's when the patch is going to come in. Now, it's terrible, but we don't know what's going on in the workings behind the walls of the studio. Here in our own side, we're like, man, we would like for this to be fixed now. And rightly so, honestly. There's some bugs that have, lasted forever in this game. But at the same time, it seems like these things are getting to the place where they're being corrected. And some people have lost their patience. And I'll always say, if anybody loses their patience with Massive, they do deserve it, because some people are used to playing more polished games. Some of us are used to playing broken Division, so our patience and tolerance level, with this game is just a little much stronger because of sentiment, not more than anything else. We like the game to a much more, in some cases, unreasonable level. I see a lot of people on my videos and even other content creator videos, or in the past, in my case, have said, move on to other content and I took your advice. I created a second YouTube channel to make other content that I do enjoy. So that helped me kind of provide a balance on both, the creation side and even the, the gaming side of things. So I'm really excited that they confirmed this. I know it's PVE content and, like I've said before, PVE is the life of this game. You can disagree with me. The data, the direction, and everything of this game points to the fact that a lot more people want to PVE in this game. And it's not because, like some people will trivialize it and say, oh, these PvE kids, they don't want to be farmed in the dark zone, blah, blah, blah. I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think it's because of the entire premise of the PvP. There's a content creator that used to make, he doesn't make any content for the Division, but he talked about one of the biggest issues with the Division 2's PvP, or the entire Division PvP. He said the premise is a turnoff for a lot of people. And that premise is it's PvP that's done in a backstabbing kind of way. It's not a duel. A duel provides, how do you put it? Provides even grounds for everybody to be able to compete. But the PvP in the Division 2 actually tips the scale for whoever likes, or whoever's favor the tides will turn in if they actually influence that. So if you're facing a big boss and you're trying to clear out a landmark, somebody can sneak up on you and shoot you. That's PvP in the Division. Yay! And then they emote on you and clap and they run away. That's PvP in the Division in most cases. And so sometimes people do not like this premise, so they don't even engage in the PvP and will go to other games like Apex Legends, go to PUBG, go to Tarkov, because those games do provide a level playing field rather than the Division. I think even the people who complain and say the Division 2's PvP is so unbalanced, I'm going to Tarkov. It's because you don't really enjoy 100% that premise. Now, there are some people who enjoy that, that premise of, things being unpredictable. And the problem is there are actually a very handful of people who actually enjoy that unfairness of the Dark Zone. Even though many people will claim that they, enjoy the unfairness, when somebody, burns them with the holster, they're like, I don't like it. I'm like, yeah, you don't really enjoy 100%. But, like I say, it's very different. But hopefully we'll see some PvP content, some replayable content for PvP. But like I said, it's a matter of numbers. It's a matter of, who will participate in that content and, largely who's going to pay for it. So if they can slap on some PvP content to the PvE thing, maybe you'll be able to sell and provide some incentive for them to push that kind of content out so that PvE players can also fund the fun in PvE, because that's basically what we do. We fund the Dark Zone. We don't go in there. We just fund it so that people can, have fun. So that, I'm dogging on PvP players. I'm sorry. I do that a lot because, they give me a hard time. So, once in a while I take a shot too, Sorry. Bye. Peace. All right. I'll leave. Bye.